I'm making this video again for John Hagelin because he says, in a very, very humorous way, the universe percolates rubber bands. So I'm sure in his studying there's something he has come across that makes him think this. And since I'm looking at light, and I think a very small unit of light, and it seems to be a percolator of rubber bands, at least circles, circles with concentric circles, and other circles with concentric circles touching and interfacing with another set of circles, making an interference pattern. And I'm thinking that almost everything I see in the orb is a circle, including the orb itself is a circle. But you'll see in some of these orb pictures that there's a lot of circles if you really look deep into the fabric up behind this. I'll show you right here. There's all kinds of little tiny circles. And there's the shadow of partial circles, and even the tiniest stuff in the background looks to be like, look right in there. Doesn't that look like there's just a fabric of circles this is all laid upon? I mean, circles are everywhere. All kinds of them. And maybe they're ripples, like when Nassim Haramein talks about the ripples are the wave functions. And he shows a pebble dropping into water and several, and they're ripples meeting one another and crossing over each other. It's sort of like that as well. Doesn't seem to be moving. I'll just move it myself. And then, of course, the colors behind it are sometimes they look to be behind it, sometimes they're over it. All of this is in empty space, I think. And it's part of this fabric of empty space. And colors, they have some designation, I'm sure. The size of the circle, the number of circles, the way they intersect, the colors that surround them. All these could be determining things about this fabric of space. Some people would call it maybe aqueous substance. Or you could say the etheric. All kinds of stuff is going on in it. I've got several, so I'm not going to stay too long on any one. I only have 391 in this album of this sort of thing. And look at these circles right here. They have dark areas in them too, like spokes of a wheel. Now, let me go to the next one. All of these were taken with a camera, the same one, and it puts two eye sockets that are kind of dark right here in the same place on the orb, kind of lower than the middle and to the right. And also other things that I call artifacts because they show up in every picture. Now, I will show you. It may be something stuck in my camera. I believe it is because it shows up in all the pictures pretty much in the same place. Here's one of them, this long thing here. But it looks like some of the things that are in the orbs because it has those lines around it that and it has bumpiness inside. And there's my very first one is this one. That's the first artifact I ever saw. But then more came in time. The last ones I got were these I call the bullet holes. There's one. There's one. And there's one. And there is one. There's 4 of them. They're kind of diagonal. This right here, I call her the fairy, but she's all dark here. Mostly she always is. But when there's not so much darkness in her, she looks like a little fairy. Maybe I'll come across one. And this is my double jointed, right here. This is the double jointed artifact, which I see a lot of things in my orbs, and some of them almost identical to what this little thing that's in my camera is looking like. And there's this little thing right here too. Let's see if I can get them up here. Right here, that is a artifact as well. I have one that looks sort of like an ant. I don't see it in this one. Here he is. I don't know, can you see that? Right there, he's right there. And I have 2 or 3 more. I'd never know when another one might appear. This is a strange world. It's even strange inside my camera. I don't know what's going on. But I think these little rubber band looks that intersect one another are something that would interest John Hagelin or Nassim Harriman. So if anyone can get this video to where you know they'll look at it, I would appreciate that. Because I think they would be very interested. And the colors, you just never know what colors are going to turn up inside an orb. The orb is like a looking glass piece that looks at this landscape. And whatever is inside the shape of the orb gets magnified, and I get to see what I think is in empty space. Which would mean that empty space around us is full of the most beautiful colors, blended together in such a unique way. You see, I keep getting those little eye sockets. And if there were like 4 or 5 orbs on the page, each one would have the eye sockets right in that particular part of it. Oh, my mouse is being silly. Get over here, mouse. There you go. I'm just going to be quiet a while and let it just roll. I think it's set for 7 seconds, 7 or 8 seconds for each one. In this mode that's called the pan and zoom mode. I want to get scientists, especially quantum physicists, interested in this because they would know how to look into it in further depth than I do. And they might know what it is that we're looking at here. or have some kind of theory about what it is anyway. My theory is everything is little circles and big circles and all kinds of circles. Circles just seem to be making up these orbs. While not all of them are very distinct, there are many, many circles in them. And the colors interweave, and they're part, I think, some of these colors are part of bigger circles that maybe you don't get the whole circle in just one orb because it's a really big circle with lots of strands, and it won't fit in any one orb. This is an album that I have in my Google Drive now. I made it public, so I will put the information if you want to look at the pictures better than me filming them off of my screen, which sometimes gets those Newton rings in there, kind of messes up your view. But you can ask, and I'll just put the address of that, and maybe it'll take you to it. It'll take you to where all the stuff I put on YouTube goes, and you might have to scroll down. To find this particular album. I made this one up using mostly the orbs that show the circles. Not all orbs will show a lot of the circles, especially those I take with my other camera. It gets a few of the circles, but it doesn't seem to have the range that this particular camera does, that you see the pictures of now. It's my little Kodak Easy Share. It's not all that expensive a camera. This is it right here. That's what I take these pictures with. I know it's a simple method, and that would probably confound scientists who think they need to have very expensive equipment. But sometimes I think, what did people have long ago who knew more than we know? Did they have all the fancy equipment? Or did they have a knowing? Or did they learn from ancient revelations given to them by beings who once were on this planet? There's all kinds of questions a person has about the past and why people could build pyramids back then, but they can't duplicate the pyramid today. Not nearly the precision that they possessed back then, whoever it was that built it. And not just it, the many pyramids that are all over the world, for they find them in every country. I have a friend named Gerald Bringle. He went to the pyramid in the Great Pyramid of Giza, and he was able to get some guards to let him stay in overnight, and he laid down in the sepulcher in the king's chamber, and he had quite an experience. He said the whole room lit up, and he looked up and there was several beings in there that were cat people, he said, and they took him somewhere. But I'm not going to tell you all about it because I can't repeat it word for word like he tells it, but I will put a link to it in the description bar in case you would be interested in hearing his experience inside the Great Pyramid. There are so many mysteries about ourselves, about who it is that we are. And some of them, I think, are beginning to be known. Little by little, we're discovering we have abilities that we never suspected even that we have. And it makes some people look at us funny and think that we're off our rocker or something. But I think it's time that we awaken to what powers we might have and learn how to use them and learn how to think about them, because they are powerful things that we can do that wouldn't be good if a person not in integrity knew how to do. They could do some harm with that knowledge. But I don't think it will be given to anyone except those who are able to see that we are all one. If you can't see that you're one with your enemy, you're one with them. And all people are part of God. It's like this one woman told me, we're part of the whole and whole of the part. And I used to say, we are a part, but we are not a part. I don't know if you get what I mean there. We're not apart from the whole. When you know that we are one, O-N-E, then you have won, W-O-N. You've won your prize. And your prize is to get your present by reversing the word now. And no, one, W-O-N, and then you get the word N-O-W. You've reversed one, W-O-N, to N-O-W. There is your present. You can live in the now, the present. It's really the only place where you have any power. The past and the future are all determined by your present moment right now. And I think they can be altered. The past can be altered. The future can be altered. But if we don't learn how to do it and learn that we can do it, well, we may miss out. And what will we miss out on? I think we will have, if you will wake up now, you'll be part of those who lead the way. If you wake up later, it's that you had to wait until the masses get it, until the critical mass brought it in such a way that the masses could all get it at once. But I don't want to be the one that gets it all at once when the masses get it. I want to be one of the ringleaders of it. I want to be on the cutting edge of what's going on right now and help to bring in this new day of waking up to who we really are. Some people call it New Age. I don't call it New Age. New Age has too many unclear definitions to me, and I've never really called myself a New Ager, but I would probably side more with the New Age than with Christianity, because I cannot buy into the belief that only a few are saved and go to heaven and the vast majority goes to a place of torment. That does not cut it with me. I cannot see a loving God wanting anything like that to even be a possibility. But very nice people that you love, dear people, your sisters, your brothers, your parents, your kids, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, they believe. If they are dyed-in-the-wool Christian zealots, they believe, yes, you go to heaven or you go to hell. And they're very nice people in spite of that belief. Only some of them that are wanting to legislate morality and blame things that are happening on the people they think are immoral, that are causing weather catastrophes and all kinds of things they're blaming on those people they think are doing bad. Now, those kind of Christians I have a hard time with. But I don't know any of them personally. I see them on videos on YouTube, but, gosh, I would take issue with them. People like that Anthony Patch, he spouts all this nonsense that sounds like science, but he's afraid of everything. Everything's a demon or a devil to him. And he doesn't see that science is not different than spirituality. When it's properly understood, spirit and science are going to be like married. They're going to be like one and the same thing. The only reason it isn't now is because we don't perfectly understand science. The part that's so hard to understand is the illusion, and we're all in it, trying to judge it while we're in it. And going by what our five senses tell us is real. And anybody would say, well, of course, that's what you have to do, use your five senses. But your five senses will lie to you. It's like what Jesus did when he said, I can't remember what I was going to say now. He did say, of myself I can do nothing. It is the Father within that does these things you see me do. And the people thought he did some pretty great miracles, but then he said to them, and greater things than I have done will you also do. Because we will believe like him, or because we will believe in him. I don't think it's so much believing in Jesus, but believing like Jesus. He knew he was one with the Father, but we don't think that. We think that's blasphemy if we say I and the Father are one. But there was even a prayer Jesus made where he prayed that they would be one with the Father as he was one with the Father. And he was talking about us. We don't see our oneness. We call that blasphemy if we even talk about it. But it's getting imperative that we understand our oneness and we know how to use this power that's within, that's latent within us right now. It's not potent because part of it working is to know that it's there and to believe in it. It's a kind of faith you have to have in the face of things that look the opposite, You have to deny reality. And I'm not saying stand out in the middle of the road and say the cars aren't real and they're not going to run over you. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that you call what is not as though it were. It's not that you call what is as though it isn't. It's already there because we've created it to be there in our illusion. But when we act like God, we call what is not as though it were, and what is not becomes. And it was spoken of by Jesus also when he said, whoever shall say to this mountain, be removed, be thou cast into the sea, and not doubt in his heart, but believe the things he says, he can have whatsoever he says. That's powerful. That's the kind of words and thoughts that can stop hurricanes and fires and floods. This is a beautiful world that is in this dimension all around us. And we're like swimming in it, and it's swimming in us because we're mostly empty space. This is what empty space looks like. Very colorful. And it is intelligent. I think, well, I know we can communicate with it. To a certain degree, I have communicated some with parts of it. And I think that's just going to grow and become more and more that I will be able to communicate with it. Because the atom is an intelligent little entity, and there's things smaller than the atom within the atom. And maybe some of this that I'm showing you is that's in the atom. I do love the subject of sacred geometry, and I'm always looking for sacred geometry. But I'm getting the circles that if they were put together in such a way, they could be the flower of life. But they're not arranged that way in what I'm filming. But I do love sacred geometry. I'm always making it. I saw a video that showed how to make the 64 tetrahedron grid. And I've made several of them. When it's properly made, and I've never made one that I've got exactly lined up just right, but when it is made properly, the shadow of it shows, at one angle, the shadow of it shows the flower of life. I've got to figure out a way to make one that is exact, but I get in a hurry and I take shortcuts, and my making of sacred geometry is a little off in a lot of ways. Still looks good, I like it, but I don't know how to make it so exact. There's Harry. That's a little light creature. I call him little because he's in a little world. I don't really know its power, but I do know it knows when I call him, because I will be filming with this camera that I get Harry with. I won't see him for ever so long, and I'll think, where is Harry? And I'll say out loud, Harry, where are you?